Now on Denver 7 News, a Denver mechanic taking Coloradans' money and their cars.
He would either do nothing to them or he would take them apart.
Everything was gone. Everything except the main block of the engine.
But now that the shop is finally shut down, customers say the real car trouble is only just beginning.
This is the single greatest climate rescue initiative in the history of the planet.
Plus promises of fighting inflation and promoting clean energy. We're taking an in-depth look at how the Inflation Reduction Act impacts Colorado. A Denver auto shop suddenly closes its doors, saying come get your broken down cars, but not your money. Thank you for watching Denver 7 News at 6. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. You trust your mechanic to do the right thing, but our consumer investigator, Jacqueline Allen, has been exposing problems at Duran Automotive for more than a year. Today, she found out the shop just went out with a bang.
It's horrible. It's a scandal.
The scandal at Duran Automotive started long before this recent Facebook post telling customers to come get their cars immediately. They're being shut down.
The aftermath of finding out what he'd done to everyone's car was a nightmare.
Clayton Chansey is one of several customers reaching out to contact number 7 because we've covered Duran before. We have you on the record.
Yeah.
You'll have his car ready in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Confronting owner Joe Duran last summer after allegations he held customers' cars for more than a year. Turns out that was just the beginning.
He actually just kept on telling me that he was just looking for the parts.
Carmen Porras has the receipt for her BMW repair paid in advance May 2021. It sat in the shop for more than a year. The repairs never done. Her license plates now missing. Her windshield now cracked. Is your car fixed?
No. I've learned, I feel like not to trust just anybody.
It's me and so many other people are screwed.
This former employee asked us not to reveal her identity. She briefly worked for Duran and says he was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Like you would take pieces out of, say, my car to put in someone else's car.
How do you know that?
I saw him do this.
She says the property owners told her Duran owed them money.
Apparently, he threw the keys at the man and said, F this. And that was that.
Leaving a lot full of broken down cars and angry customers, Duran has disappeared, not responding to our request for comment either. We found he has a lengthy criminal history from felony theft to felony sex assault.
I have not talked to him. I have not seen him. No one knows where he is.
Clayton says he wants to share their story before Duran opens shop somewhere else.
And it's just not fair. The community needs to know what we're dealing with.
For Contact Denver 7,
You have people like this that are just screwing everyone over.
I'm Jacqueline Allen.
Wow. Colorado's so-called towing Bill of Rights goes into effect today. Governor Polis signed that bill into law back in June. So here's a look at what it does. Towing companies must now give 24 hours notice before taking a car from an apartment building or a mobile home park. And they are no longer allowed to tow a car just for expired tags. If your car is towed, the company must release it to you if you pay 15% of the fee, which is capped at $60. And you will still be on the hook for the total bill, just not right away.
And there are more than 200 other new laws going into effect tomorrow. So let's take a look at a few of them. Diapers and feminine products no longer will be taxed. Hospitals will now be required to openly display prices for treatment to prevent patients from being overcharged. This law also will ban hospitals that were previously not in compliance from collecting debt from patients. Certain criminal records will be automatically sealed. Those include civil infractions after 4 years have passed, nonviolent misdemeanors after 7 years, and nonviolent felonies after 10. Also, all daycares and schools will be required to test their drinking water for lead. And if the levels are too high, well, schools are going to have to come up with a plan to fix it.
And we now have a better idea of which citizen ballot initiatives will be on the ballot this November. The deadline to turn in the required signatures was yesterday. It appears 6 of them have met that criteria. So Initiative 96 would increase the number of liquor licenses an individual can own. Initiative 121 would allow Colorado grocery stores to start selling wine this March. Initiative 122 would allow third parties to deliver alcohol. Initiative 108 would dedicate 0.1% of the state income tax revenues to affordable housing. All 4 of those still need to have their signatures verified. 2 initiatives have already had their signatures verified. Initiative 31, which would slightly cut the state income tax, and Initiative 58, which would legalize psychedelic mushrooms, psychoactive plants, and healing centers where those can be administered. Now, some notable initiatives that failed to get enough signatures include a different measure to decriminalize psychedelics, a measure to restrict abortion, and a measure to dedicate more tax dollars to education.
And we are about 90 days out now from the midterm elections, and congressional Democrats are celebrating a string of wins, most recently the passage of that major climate bill. Now, Republicans are less optimistic, saying the bill isn't going to help families.
Denver 7's Megan Lopez shows us what it means for Colorado.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50.
It came down to a tiebreaker, a 50-50 vote in the Senate that Vice President Kamala Harris was the deciding factor on.
Bill, as amended, is passed.
Now the $430 billion Inflation Reduction Act needs one final vote in the House before heading to the president.
This is the single greatest climate rescue initiative in the history.
The bill addresses everything from energy efficiency to prescription drugs to taxes. On clean energy, it creates a $7,500 tax credit for people who buy new electric cars, or $4,000 in credits for used ones. But critics say it won't apply to most cars because it requires battery parts and minerals to be made in America.
I think it's really important to understand that it's going to be a phase-in. It's not all going to happen at once, but it's going to be really good for our manufacturing.
It offers tax credits for homeowners who buy solar panels or low-energy heat pumps. And for Colorado, the bill allocates $4 billion to addressing drought in the Colorado River Basin. On the healthcare side, the bill allows Medicare to negotiate lower prices on 10 high-cost drugs and caps insulin prices at $35 for Medicare recipients, among other things. To do this, it calls for a 15% minimum tax on corporations earning $1 billion and for the hiring of 87,000 more IRS agents to increase audits.
The vast majority of that money is going to come from people that make well over $400,000 a year, and they don't pay taxes. They're finding every little loophole.
But at a press conference of their own, state Republicans spoke out against that bill.
I don't know why they're calling it an Inflation Reduction Act. Bernie Sanders has already come out and said it doesn't affect inflation at all. It's a tax.
Many economists say the bill likely won't reduce inflation in the short term. That largely falls on the Federal Reserve.
And so that's my main beef with it. We don't need to be spending more money and then collecting it from working Americans here in Colorado. So it's a tax.
Still, Democrats are touting this string of victories, hoping it will help them in the midterms. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
Almost exactly 1 year ago, Colorado Republicans held a meeting at a Denver gas station to announce their legislative goals for the year. And today, they gave an update on those goals and what they have and have not been able to accomplish. Now, last August, state Republicans unveiled 45 bills to help with the cost of living, crime reduction, and expanding education choice. Only 5 of those passed, and, well, Republicans blame the Democrats.
We have had enough. And the thing that we come here to say today is that we do have better ideas. We have put them in front of you, and this year, we no longer have to ask the majority of the Democrats in the legislature. We get to ask the voters.
Now, Republicans have not controlled the Colorado House since 2012 or the Senate since 2018. The last time they controlled both chambers and the governor's mansion was 2004.
A Summit County middle school teacher wanted for 8 counts of sexual assault on a child turned himself in today. In October of 2021, school officials received 7 reports of alleged sexual misconduct involving Leonard Grams and female students. Detectives say those reports kicked off a massive investigation, which is still ongoing. The Summit County Sheriff's Office believes there could be more victims, and they are asking anyone who was a victim or who has any information to please give them a call.
Denver teachers are back at the bargaining table. Their union will spend the next 2 days negotiating changes to the collective bargaining agreement with DPS. Now, these latest talks are centered around efforts to recruit and retain more BIPOC educators and the changes needed to make that happen.
Required trainings for employees and supervisors, language addressing microaggressions that BIPOC educators are facing, and then some consistency in how our Black Excellence Plan is rolled out in our schools throughout the district.
The union says another issue they plan to discuss, benefits, specifically health care, and making sure health care is affordable. So the negotiations will continue tomorrow.
Bet you heard the Broncos officially have a new owner, right? Well, NFL team owners met in Minneapolis today to vote on the deal, which would officially transfer ownership to the Walton Penner Group. Commissioner Roger Goodell says the owners voted unanimously to approve the sale. We will break down the deal, what it means for the Broncos this season. All that coming up in just a few minutes in sports.
A Colorado icon is still not ready for its reopening. The latest update on Casa Bonita and why the new owners say it needs a lot more work than they'd imagined.
It's outside the box. It's keeping true to the design.
Plus, a Denver landmark is reinventing itself when the new and improved Tom's Diner plans to open back up.
And the end result is fabulous, and I couldn't be happier.